All right, everybody, welcome back into the Auburn Live Modcast. Appreciate you joining us. I'm Justin Hokanson, Jeffrey Lee, Cole Pinkston, the whole crew's here. What's up, guys? We had a little week off. Everybody feeling good?
Man.
Yeah.
Recharged.
Good week. For sure.
I'm going to be honest. I took like a detox from all things Auburn football. And that includes our message board to some degree. I was like, I'm out for about 3 days.
It's gotta happen, man. It's gotta happen.
Yeah, you need it. You need it every once in a while. But it's been a good. I thought the bye week was good for both us and for Auburn. I thought it was a good timing for both.
Everyone involved needed to step away,
sure,
from the ledge for just a minute. All right, bunch to talk about today. Real quick, shout out to our main sponsor, Session Cocktail. Appreciate them right there on Magnolia Avenue. Go check them out. Happy hour 4 to 7 every day. They're open on Sundays 12 to 5. So if you want to go watch a little NFL football, you can do that. If you're in town on home game weekends, it's a great place to go have a drink. Maybe before you, go have some lunch and have a drink there. If you're hanging around on Sundays after games. But go check them out. Of course, we'll be there again Friday. We took a week off, but we'll be there Friday for the happy hour show, 4 to 5, talking a little Auburn, Missouri, and all that good stuff. So appreciate Session Cocktail in downtown Auburn. Go say hey to them. If you go there, tell them we sent you. I love hearing back from them when they say somebody came in and said where they heard us. It's really cool and they appreciate that. So go check them out when you get a chance.
And while you're there, Justin, pull up your PrizePicks app. Log into PrizePicks.com. Daily fantasy sports platform. It's the best, easiest, most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharps. You pick more than or less than the projection and watch the winnings roll in. You pick 2 to 6 players, quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. It's fantastic. It's the most fun I've had winning, and I think Zach in the back had a big-time week last week as well. So go to PrizePicks.com or upload the app. Use the promo code Auburn Live, all one word, Auburn Live, to receive a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups. That's PrizePicks.com or the app. Use the promo code Auburn Live. You receive $50 once you play $5 in lineups. It's talking about the several. Let's see, was this a lot of Auburn picks this week against Missouri? By the way, is what I was trying to get to. An enormous selection of players and stat types. That's this weekend. A lot of Auburn flavor. I will read you off a couple of them. Cam Coleman, projection 36.5 receiving yards, 0.5 touchdowns. Longest reception, 19.5. You can go more or less than that. Jarquez Hunter, 72.5 rushing yards. That'll be a good one to talk about. Who else? We got KLS, 50.5 receiving yards. Man, this sounds low. You got to hope Auburn. Peyton Thorne, let's see, what's his? 198.5 passing yards. And 0.5 rushing. Or if Peyton Thorne accounts for a touchdown, it's more than his 0.5 projection. Let me think. Yeah, that's right. 198.5 passing yards for Peyton. So I'll give you the big one. 198.5 passing yards for Peyton. 0.5 touchdowns. Will he account rushing or passing a touchdown? Jarquez Hunter, 86.5 rushing yards. And then Cam Coleman, 36.5 receiving yards.
I like Hunter to go more on his.
Ooh, with the way Hugh Freeze has been talking this week, especially with Justin, I've read from Justin, I agree.
I mean, if he doesn't, it's almost like what? Like, how's that possible?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay,
I mean, he had 98 on 13 carries a week ago or 2 weeks ago against Georgia.
How's Missouri's rush defense?
It's pretty good. Their defense is pretty good. They're fourth in the league in total defense. They're about 4th, 5th, something like that in scoring defense. Rushing, their top half. Their average, I think they give up about 3.5 yards a carry, which is top half. So not bad. Their front's pretty good defensively. Like,
wow.
They're not a pushover. So I think it's maybe probably being overlooked a tad bit in this game a little bit because the A&M game was such a debacle. But their defense is not bad. And their front's not bad.
You know what? I also forgot. You know, they give away these. Basically, they give away a free square this week. Go to Anthony Edwards. He's a free square promotion. The NBA regular season kicks off next Tuesday, October the 22nd. I guess that's next week, though. Anyways, check that out. New offers are always available on Prospects Taco Tuesday. Every Tuesday, keep your eyes on our board for tasty discounts projections all day long. Flex Friday, we offer protected play to each of our members. Win or you get your cash back. So a lot of good deals with Prospects on that.
Big fan of Flex Friday.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Explain it to me, Cole.
You put in a $10 bet and you're protected. If you don't hit it, you get your $10 back.
What do you have to do to protect it?
You just have to enter it within the time.
Really?
Like, I guess it starts at like 10 in the morning to like 10 at night. You have to put a bet in during that time on Fridays.
Well, I'll be darned.
All right, so it's not always that. It's sometimes it's a different, like, sometimes it's like double your money. Whatever the bet would be, they double it on Flex Friday. It's always something different.
So there are 3 players on Prospects: Cam Coleman, Jarquez, 4 KLS. You can only, I noticed this last 2 weeks ago. You can only use one player. So Cam Coleman's got receiving yards, touchdowns, longest receptions. Yeah. You can only pick one of those. And then Jarquez Hunter's got rushing yards, or any TDs, rushing and receiving yards, longest rush. KLS has got receiving yards, TDs, longest receptions. Peyton's got passing TDs. Man, the 0.5 on Peyton is rushing or receiving. So I'm sorry, I take that back. His passing TDs is 1.5. Oh, here you go. More or less 0.5 interceptions. Will he throw a pick?
Well, last week or against Georgia, you would have said for sure, but he didn't.
Right.
So
I'm with Justin, or was it Cole? I like, man, I don't know, though. The rushing defense, I don't think of Missouri when I think of stout fronts.
116 yards per game, according to Zach, is what they allow. I think Auburn's 129, Justin, a game?
Yeah, they're pretty close. And Missouri's, their average, they give about 3.5 yards a carry, which is a tick worse than, like, their total rushing yards per game is a little better than their actual average. It comes down to about 8th. Total defense, I think I looked it up earlier. They're 4th, I think, in the league in total defense, and like 6th and 5th or something in scoring defense. So their defense is not bad. It's not a pushover, especially the way Auburn plays offense. So I mean, it's not going to go out there and they're going to have to execute.
Do you think Jarquez gets 20 plus touches?
No.
Touches, just total touches. Oh my gosh,
that's receptions too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just hard to say yes, because it's just the way Hugh Freeze operates and the way he addresses offense. He's never been a guy to just feed a person or a player. It just, like, KLS should have 12 targets a game. It doesn't happen. I mean, so it's hard to say that he's just going to feed one guy, because he just doesn't operate that way. He operates in situations and where you are on the field and what the defense is looking like and what's the down and distance. And there's so many things that he takes into account to try to pick the right play, which I totally get.
Sure.
But there are times where you're like, hey, this dude's rolling. Let's just keep going. And he goes away from it. He wants to be balanced. He cares about yards per rush. He doesn't care about number of touches. I mean, he would love to feed the ball, but he often points to, hey, Jarquez is averaging 5.5 yards a carry. It's like, yeah, but he's getting 13 carries a game. And you're like, well, yeah, but he just doesn't care as much about the total numbers. He cares about the average. And then if he's getting a good average, and then he can pop a big pass. So it's just hard to predict. The way this thing's operating, that Jarquez gets 20 touches a game. Could happen, but it's hard to predict it.
I think he almost doubled down on it, Justin, on his system. Like, I have a system. This is what we do. When they asked me, I think there was a question in his Monday presser, like, is there a plan to get Jarquez Hunter the ball more? Is that something you want to do? And he said, the number I'm more concerned with is yards per attempt, rushing yards.
Wow.
Every time he's going to bring it up every time, and I'm not even slamming him for him. Just like that's just his approach. He's always going to point back to that because the criticism is not enough carries, and he's going to go, "Yeah, but our average is pretty good."
He came back and said, "Yeah, well, I mean, we need to get 27 the ball more."
Yeah,
but he was like, his first thought was, "Look, I mean, the yards per rush is good. That number's looking great right now. That's the one that he cares about." I think it was the actual quote that I care about the most.
Oh,
and by the way, Missouri's defense is 12th in the country right now in yards per game.
12 yards per game. Is that defense? I wonder. Rushing total defense, Cole. I'm filling in the gap while he's frozen.
Well, probably total. They were 4th in the league in total defense, I think, is what I saw. So I mean, I'm sure they're
12th defense, Cole, total.
Yeah. Sorry, 12th total. They give up 270 a game.
Damn.
The best defense in the country is Texas. They give up 230 for reference.
Who's the DC?
Passing. They have the second best passing defense in the league, Missouri.
Do y'all know who the defensive coordinator is?
I can tell you very quickly.
Who have they?
Corey Batoon.
There's a lot of Auburn flavor on that staff too.
But now here's the context here. They've played Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, who has shown to be an adequate offense. Vanderbilt's not like they're not a juggernaut. Let's not get crazy, but they've shown themselves to be capable. Certainly, A&M got trounced, and UMass. So you're talking about. I mean, Boston College. I haven't watched Boston College. But two offenses that are pretty good. 4 that you probably should shut down. I mean,
2 that are serviceable. Boston College is. BC and Vandy would be a good game.
It's yeah, it would.
So that's a little context. Like A&M rushed for 230 on Missouri.
Wow. Corey Batoon is the defensive coordinator, and he is a guy that was with Freeze at Ole Miss and Liberty, I think.
Interesting.
Freeze
tendencies
about him. Freeze said, like, that's my guy. I mean, we know each other pretty well, so that's going to be interesting.
There's a bunch of crossover in this game between, Eli, who was at Auburn, and Curtis Looper, right? And they're LaRondo's their ops guy. Brad LaRondo's there.
Is Al Pogue there too?
Al Pogue's there. Brett Whiteside was here and then there, and now back at Auburn. Like there's a bunch of little. Their receivers coach was almost Auburn's receivers coach. Jacob Peeler was almost. Yeah. I thought he was going to be Auburn's receivers coach.
That is interesting. The Corey Batoon thing is probably one of the more interesting ones, being that he's been with Freeze, and I don't think Freeze is predictable. I think that's one thing you could say about him, whereas he gets compared to Gus a lot, but his offense doesn't seem all that predictable to me. I mean, that's kind of the point of the RPO, is to not be predictable. Like, okay, you're going to load the box. Well, I'm going to throw it. Okay, you're going to take one out of the box. Well, I'm going to run it. It's supposed to counter predictability is the idea with the offense, and that's why sometimes they get into a bind, because the defense can start dictating what they want out of it.
Yeah, I do think. Yeah, without going crazy, I do think Hugh Freeze is certainly a better play caller than Gus overall. I think there's more. I think there's more diversity in what Hugh does, and especially in the passing game than. I mean, Gus Malzahn's route tree was like JV, and so I do think there's better stuff in what Hugh does. It's all the attention to detail that's catching him up now. It's all the little things that they're not clearly is not happening in practice, because you play how you practice. I mean, just straight up. So that's all the stuff that's hanging him up now. So what do you think about? I saw some stuff about the player. I was in Birmingham doing basketball, but I saw where the players talked about. The week off, getting refreshed, trying to have fun. I'll be honest. I don't know. I'm just to believe it till I see it person, and it sounds great. I guess we're at that point of the season where now you pivot to, well, we just have to have more fun, and that's the problem. I don't personally buy that. I think you can say all that, but you got to go execute. Like, I mean, all the other stuff. I mean, I get it. The players are trying to me find ways to stay engaged, to be optimistic, and that's all great. But it still comes down to execution.
Absolutely. But and Justin, I almost felt like I almost didn't want to write that article because it was like, all right, I know how this is going to be taken. It seems almost juvenile, like it's not going to be taken as serious. But I thought that Jalen McLeod brought it home, I guess, when he was talking about it. He said he started off and he was saying, you know, I mean, we got too much talent to just not be even enjoying this. Like we're stressed. Everybody's tight. And I agree with that. That's definitely a problem. Defense doesn't seem as much as the offense, obviously. I think the defense is pretty loose for the most part. But then he goes, you know, DeMarcus Riddick, that guy don't play like that. He plays like you're supposed to play. And that's why he's having success. And he turned it into that, and it was like, man, that makes sense. I can get on board with that all day because he does play with a different level of intensity and, you know, has been making plays because of it. And he stands out for that reason. It's not just because he's a freshman. He stands out because he's making those kind of plays. I had a play on my film room of him on the kickoff where he knocked 3 guys down on his way to make the tackle, where he also made a big hit on the tackle. Like, that's the level of loose I think they're looking for. And Jalen McLeod does not feel like they're getting it from everybody.
Yeah. I mean,
but execution, I'm also with you on that. I'm not going against that for sure.
Yeah, and the defense has had less issues. Obviously, they've done a pretty good job. We talked about that I wrote. Yeah, it was this week. This week has already just been crazy between basketball and football. I forget what day it is, but yeah, we talked about Durkin and stuff earlier in the week, and he said he was third. You know, he's completely happy with Durkin and that staff and what they're doing, and I would tend to agree. I mean, they're not dominant. I mean, you look at the stats. Auburn's defense is not dominant by any means, but I think for what they have, they're lacking. They're lacking up front. We've seen that from August. We knew they weren't going to have impact defensive tackles. That's coming true. They just don't. They can't make a lot of plays there. Young secondary, but for what they are, I think they've given the team a chance to win every game. You know what I mean? They've played stretches of pretty good football, and if the offense was executing a little better, you know, they would have beaten Arkansas and they would have beaten Oklahoma and maybe would have beaten Cal Lake. So the defense, I think, for the most part, has done their job outside of maybe Cal, where they just look terrible and they give like 300 yards in the first half, but they completely reversed it in the second half. But kind of outside of that, they've given the team a chance to win. Like, I don't know if you could ask for a ton more from the defense necessarily. Maybe better tackling at times for sure, but
I think that said it all, Justin. I think the defense has played well enough to be 5-1.
Yeah, definitely.
I think execution on offense, you're probably looking at least 4-2.
At least.
I'm trying to be the floor here.
Absolutely.
Really 5-1. I think that's why it hurts so much for the Auburn fans. It's like,
and then you look at stats. I mean, I'm just looking through some stats as we're talking here, and Auburn is 7th in the country in yards per attempt on passes. So almost 10 yards per attempt. For reference, number 1 in the country is Indiana with 11, and right under them is Alabama with 10.8. So Auburn's right there with the top teams in the country in explosive plays, I guess you could call it. Right?
In yards
Taking
per
shots.
passing attempt? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And they're 4th nationally in yards per completion. They're 9th in yards per play.
There's really not a statistic that you look at and you're like, Auburn's in the bottom. Like, they're pretty much either in the middle or above average in everything.
Except turnovers.
Yeah, except for turnovers.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to. You're gonna have to have the whole rest of the season is gonna have to be like turnover free to make up for that bad start. I mean, they could go multiple games with no turnovers and they'll still probably be in the bottom third because of how bad those first few games are.
Well, if you look back at Georgia before the game, if we had said, "Hey, listen, Auburn's not going to turn the football over," if that happens, Auburn should be at least competitive. I don't think either one of us would have thought they would win, but that's exactly kind of what happened, wasn't it? You don't turn the football over. You were at least in the, it wasn't a blowout.
Yeah.
And if you play that way prior to that Georgia game, I think you're going into that game undefeated. I mean, if you'd average just one turnover a game in the first 5, probably 5-0.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was to start with. It was the turnovers. The Arkansas game, I would say, for sure, was the one that killed you there. And then the Oklahoma game was kind of a mix of the turnover, the one that mattered, and execution on situational offense, which has been those are the two things, right? I mean, the two things that are really holding you back. There's some other things that could be cleaned up. Pass protection, Freeze said that it was dicey. Was that his word, Justin?
That was his word. I think that's fair. I mean, I went and looked up a bunch of stats from Pro Football Focus, who does a pretty good job. And I mean, the stats show. I mean, the rushing numbers are pretty good across the board. Whether it's average yards per carry for Jarquez and total, he's right there as a top 4 or 5 back. But then you go look at his touches per game, his rushes per game, and he's like 12th. And if you go look at rushing touchdowns, he's 18th. He's got 3, and so the rushing number, it bears it out. And you look at pass protection. I think they're 12 sacks. That's about 8th in the league, but Peyton scrambled 20 times. That's second most in the league. His time to throw is like 11th in the league.
Wow.
And so I think I did like 20% of dropbacks. So it included about 20 quarterbacks, which is obviously a little too many. But so you're down in the bottom half in terms of his time to throw. And that's definitely been the issue, is pass protection. And I feel like, I mean, I wrote that story and we've spent so much oxygen has been taken up about Peyton Thorne and the quarterbacks. And I'm exhausted with it because we don't talk about anything else. Like, hey, the defense is playing pretty. They probably deserve a little credit, but also the offensive line. And I wrote about it this week. That deserves some examination. I mean, I thought the offensive line. I don't know. I thought they're going to be a tad better. I think they're doing good things running wise, but they're not doing a great job in pass protection time and time again. There's stuff happening that looks fundamental, looks elemental. Guys running by, miscommunication on who to block. It's not like you don't have. There's a couple weak spots. Percy Lewis has not been great, but there's stuff that's happening that goes beyond even talent. Sometimes it's like, dude, how do you just let that guy run free?
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I'm sorry. Who's your starting left tackle Saturday?
Who would we pick, or who is it actually going to be?
Who would be your starting left tackle?
Dylan Wade.
Oh, like it. Love it.
But here's the thing. I know like Tyler Johnson's PFF grade was bad when he played or whatever. I didn't see him as being that awful though. Like, it just didn't look that way to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to go back and check that. But you asked the question, why has he not been able to take over that spot when he was the guy, supposedly? And they started him before they started Percy, technically, I believe. If we went back to the first game.
He started the season, yeah.
So that's an interesting development. I thought he would be the guy that could eventually, like, okay, Percy's not doing well. Well, no problem. Have Tyler Johnson. But that's not seeming to be the case. But I go back to last year's offense, and again, I know Dylan Wade might be a guard on the next level, but my gosh, he was really good at left tackle for Auburn. So why not?
Really good. And that was your biggest or your weakest link against Georgia. Percy Lewis at times looked like a swinging door.
Yeah,
he's
a lot of it is because we
tell us how you really feel, Justin.
Him and Rivaldo Fairweather are just like you ever seen that clip of the security trying to stop people rushing on the field, and they're just like out there? That's Percy and Rivaldo at times blocking. It looks like that.
I will say I went to practice Tuesday, saw the practice viewing window. We got a little extra time because because I think most of the media was at the basketball thing, Justin, and they just gave us a couple extra periods out there and got to see a little bit. It does definitely look like they're still going with Percy Lewis at left tackle and keeping that offensive line that we've seen the same.
So you'd go Wade at left tackle, Joyner at left guard, Lou, right, Miller.
Yep.
Yeah. Lou Connor's been fairly consistent. I don't know that he's been as dominant maybe as we thought he might be, but he's been pretty good. Jeremiah Wright's, I think, probably been their best lineman. I mean, combination of run and pass blocking, I think Jeremiah Wright's maybe been their best. Connor, Lou, I think those are probably your top two. And then Wade's probably three. Like those three are your best offensive linemen. And then Miller and your tackles have just struggled. I mean, Percy certainly, Miller a little bit too. It's just
been hit or miss.
Yeah.
And I don't know if putting Braden Joyner in at guard fixes your pass protection problems all that much, but I mean, he looks pretty consistent to me when he's played, and he's obviously earned his way out there and done a lot to do that. So I would give him a shot, me personally. And maybe they do. Maybe they have that ready to go, and maybe they want to see Percy for a couple series and go, all right, is this really what we want? And no. So let's go to this because I'm sure Dylan Wade's gotten work at left tackle or right tackle. But I will say Xavion Miller, he got hurt in the Georgia game and left the game, but he was out there. He looked fine to me. He wasn't in a yellow non-contact. He was going full. So I think he's going to play.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Braden Joyner's, according to Pro Football Focus, which is not the gospel. It's just, we're not out there grading everything, but his pass blocking grade is pretty bad. It's 30. I mean, it's bad. And he's played 96 snaps. Looks like about 58 snaps and pass blocks. So he's played enough to get a grade, and that's definitely his weak point. Maybe that's what they're looking at. Maybe they're going, we'd like to play Braden, but he's more of a liability in pass blocking, especially up the middle. Maybe you'd rather. If you're going to struggle, I don't know, Peyton can maybe see sometimes the outside. Maybe if you're just letting guys up the middle, maybe that's a bigger issue. I'm not sure. But just overall pass blocking is just – the good thing is Missouri, I was quickly looking up, their defensive numbers are pretty good, but their ability to rush the passer is not anything special. They've got – I think Auburn's got 80 pressures on the season, and I think Missouri's got 50. They've got the same number of sacks, 12 as Auburn this year, but their ability to rush the quarterback hasn't been, overly dominant or anything. So even though Auburn's had some issues in pass protection at times, I don't know that Missouri is the team to completely expose it. I think Auburn should be okay there. I mean, I'm sure they'll still make some mistakes, but
I'll tell you,
it's the running game that Missouri is pretty decent at stopping the run. That's where I think but then you look at Missouri's pass defense is pretty good. So even though they haven't necessarily attacked the quarterback and they're not giving up a lot passing yardage wise. I don't know. I haven't watched their secondary a lot though.
I think it was Rivaldo Fairweather Tuesday that said, hey, they got two of the best interior D linemen that, we've seen. Yeah. So I don't even know who they are. They're not people that I would know. I don't really follow Missouri that close. I'm going to dive more into that, but he said that they're pretty good, but he said, O-line will handle it. He kind of brushed it off like that. I tell you, I don't know why every program in the country does not do what Georgia does on defense. So I noticed going back in the film room, Peyton Thorne made a lot of protection checks, a lot. He saw an alignment, he made a lot of checks, and a lot of times it was a good check. Problem is he'd go up and make the check, and then when he'd go back and start the snap count, Georgia would shift an entire gap. And then the offensive line's like, oh, my gosh. And it happens so much. And they've been doing that for years. And it is so good. I don't know why everybody doesn't do it. There's nothing there's almost nothing you can do about it because you have a protection set, and then the guy moves an entire gap on you. Then what? And you have a 0.2 second to think about it.
I was just looking it up. It looks like you remember Chris McClellan, who Auburn went after the transfer from Florida. He's one of their starting defensive tackles. It looks like he leads them in it's not a good lot, but it looks like he leads them in sacks and tackles for loss, which is, again, like he's right in the conference. He's 19th. He's got 2.5 sacks, and then he's got about 5 tackles for loss, which is, but yeah, it looks like he's their starting defensive tackle, big old boy.
He's good.
That Auburn recruited. Yeah.
He was a big recruit out of Owasso, Oklahoma, I believe, that Auburn liked then too. Remember that, Jeffrey? Remember that guy?
Owasso, yeah.
He went to Florida.
Did he visit Auburn?
Yeah, I think he took an OV to Auburn.
I thought he did too.
It was during during Harsin, so it was like
high school.
Yeah, like Harsin and them. They thought they had. I remember they thought they had a shot with him. I remember that. And then he committed to Florida, like right after his OV to Auburn. It's like,
yeah,
okay, next.
Oh, we didn't want him.
We didn't want him. Not a take.
No, not a take.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I don't know what to think about this game.
Well, okay, let's do some predictions because.
Well, what it goes? Yeah, 7.5. So Sunday
that's
to now,
that's interesting.
7.5 to 4.5. I saw our buddy Josh Pate apparently talked about this game, saying take Auburn in the points.
He's a Hugh Freeze and Auburn believer, I believe. Josh Pate.
I think it's what Missouri are you going to get? I mean, they got just housed by Texas A&M. They haven't really played anybody else. They beat Vanderbilt, but now they were up on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt came back. So now looking at Vanderbilt, that's honestly
not a bad win.
Not a bad performance. I think they ended up winning by I think they ended up winning by 3. I was trying to look it up real quick. I think they ended up winning by 3 in that game. I was trying to see if it was home or away. Yeah, so it was at home. They won by 3, but they were up big and let Vanderbilt come back. So but now it's not a bad win. Auburn would love to beat Vanderbilt. They'd take that. But I don't know enough. I mean, Brady Cook, I don't know that he's having the dynamite season he did last year. Luther Burden's probable. It's almost, I mean, look, Missouri's a good team. But what are you going to get from Auburn? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Auburn is much harder team to predict right now because of the amount of mistakes they've made. And you look at it and you go, okay, they're flashes of being pretty good. I mean, they should have beaten Oklahoma. I mean, Auburn should have beaten Oklahoma. Auburn should have beaten Oklahoma like 27-13, 27-10. I mean, they should have, but they just made so many mistakes. So I don't, the week off, it's good. Hey, it's always a positive trying to take a team coming off a week off. Self-scouting. It'll be competitive. Auburn will have their chances. Absolutely. Auburn will be in this game and they'll have their chances to win. Are they going to play clean football when it matters? Are they going to make the right call when it matters? Hugh Freeze said on Monday, if they make critical down errors in this game, it would be infuriating, is what he said. He goes, given that we've had a week off and given that we've had obviously that additional time to address communication issues in addition to just simply having more time to prepare. I mean, he's like Monday, he's like the game plan's in. So now they've got a bunch of extra time to refine it. He's like, if we make critical down errors, critical game errors that are based on kind of communication, not obviously execution, but if we're not on the same page in this game, he's like, it would be, unacceptable. And he called it infuriating.
Justin, I know you're tired of talking about this. I'm going to ask you anyway.
Oh God.
On our call-in show the other night, we had several callers and several of them, the consensus, and I didn't really combat them or anything. I not that I would have. I just let them talk through their points. And a lot of them are like, they want to see Hank Brown against Missouri. They want to see him, and they do not want to see Peyton Thorne.
Really?
Yes. What do y'all think about that? Do y'all think that's the right move right now?
Hell no.
Listen, there's a lot of ways to address this.
Peyton's coming off a no interception performance against Georgia. I want to see him keep going.
Yeah, I'm trying to be so. God dang, Cole. I'm trying to be nice. I just like.
I'm not.
We have got to stop.
They're idiots.
We've got to stop the. Can we just look beyond quarterback for like 2 seconds? Can we just all look at the whole picture? I get it, man. Nobody's up here saying Peyton Thorne should win the high. Nobody's up here saying
Right.
Peyton Thorne is awesome. That's not. Nobody's saying that. But you have Hugh Freeze saying, forget what we say. If you think Hugh Freeze just said this past week, Peyton's played really good football the last few weeks. And he even said, I think there's really good reasons that he's making the decisions he's making. I see what he's seeing. So like just that alone, if you're a Hugh Freeze believer and you trust him, he's telling you that, and this is a guy who has been very critical of Peyton Thorne.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Very critical. And he's come out and said he's doing good things. He is playing good football. So I would start there when you're talking about this quarterback thing. That's reason enough to just get off of the want to see Hank Brown. Then we can talk about, well, last time we saw Hank Brown, he looked completely overwhelmed and threw 3 picks in 1 half. He doesn't have the experience Peyton does.
See him on the road?
Yeah, nothing about that makes sense. I just that is it's reactionary, it's impulsive, it's it's just not. I talked about this with somebody yesterday. If you get to the point, if you lose Missouri and then you lose Kentucky, and you've got, what is that? You'd have four games left, and you'd have to win them all to go to a bowl. Like, I could see there being a point in the season where Hugh goes, okay, what are we playing for? If we can't make a bowl and Peyton's gone, I could see there being an argument to saying, well, I might as well put Hank out there and give him time, and it'll let me give more data on him before the spring. We're not going to a bowl game anyway. I could see that, but even then I'd have a little bit of an issue with it, because if Peyton is still playing fairly well and you just lost those games, then how fair is it to Peyton Thorne, who's been out there and who's getting better and who's playing decent football? How fair is it to him to just pull him and go, well, your career's done. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
That's a crappy situation too. And I get you'd want to play for the future, but how crappy is it to, if you do that, why don't you just pull the other veterans that aren't going to pull them all? Who else is not going to be there next year? Might pull Jalen McLeod off the field. Pull Keandre Lambert-Smith off the field. He's gonna be gone. Just pull them all if you're going to do that. So I don't love. I sort of understand that, but I don't love it. But right now, no, we got to stop with the.
So
we've got to take a step back from the quarter.
Justin,
see Hank Brown.
I let them. We talked it out a little bit because it was just me and Zach. We didn't have as many people talking. We just kind of let the callers lay it out. Why did you think this? What's your reasoning behind it? So we got a lot of that, and I was interested in it. It really, a lot of it, man, hung on the 4th down against Georgia, and really the critical situations like that. And they're stopped on that, which after it was all said and done, at the end I said, look, I would challenge you this: how many times do you think he made the right check, or do you actually know how many times he made the right check? That's something you probably won't know, because it goes, you don't know when he's making checks necessarily, or when he's making a pre-snap read on things. And I'm only telling you that not because I'm trying to help the guy out. I'm telling you because that's why Freeze is still using him, because he is doing the right things a lot of times, and he believes that's the best chance. Right
there, you go. There's no doubt in my mind, unequivocally, Peyton Thorne gives Auburn the best chance to win the football game,
because he is making the right checks. He's making a lot of good reads and doing all that, and it's not as easy to see. We look at it on the film room a little bit when we do that, but back to your prize picks, Jeffrey, on Peyton Thorne, 198. Was that what he is, more or less?
98.5.
How many times, without looking at the stats, do you think that Peyton Thorne has gone below 200 yards passing this season?
A lot more than he has above it.
All right, he's played 1, 2, 3, 4,
He's
5.
gone over that every game he's played, probably.
He's gone over it, including just the one half against Arkansas.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he threw for 2.
Except for one game, it was against Cal. He had 165 in that game.
And that was 4 picks.
And 4 interceptions.
So 4 of the 5
weren't his fault.
Well,
yeah.
Okay.
No, I think right now you're riding with Peyton. You're riding with Peyton Thorne. We got it.
It's not even a debate.
Yeah, we got to step away from. We got to take a break from We got to take a break from bashing and wanting to pull him. He's just not. He's not playing bad football. I mean, I went and looked up. You got 20 scrambles. That's almost the most in the league. So he's constantly. The pass protection's not been great on him. He's had 10 drops this season. I think I looked the other day. I think that's second most in the league. So I think one other quarterback has had more drops than he's had to deal with. Not to mention, right, like at least 2 of those drops are Cam literally went into the opponent's hands. So 2 of the 6 picks are literally Cam Coleman's fault. I think if you dig into the numbers, they're not bad. What's skewing this whole thing is the critical down stuff. Literally the 3rd and 4 pick against Oklahoma and the 4th and 1 against Georgia. Those 2 things are really, really sticking with people, and they're really, and I get it. They're big plays, big downs.
Yeah.
They should. And then the Cal game a little bit, even though if you're fair about the Cal game again. Not to revisit that, but 2 of the picks were for sure not his fault. Probably 3. You could make the case for 3, really. But
it's just, I think the critical situation stuff absolutely needs to be criticized by everyone. That's fair. It's caused issues in games that you've lost and hadn't won, and just know why. I think that's the biggest thing. I work tirelessly to try to figure out the why. I think that's very important, and I don't think a lot of people care. But if you know the why, then you know why it's happening. You know what they can do to stop it. And I think Freeze is on the same mission. Obviously, I am, to figure out the why, and that's important. And you would want to know that, right? And to me, the why has been, look, he's allowed to make checks. And then he's going to make checks when he sees that a check needs to be made in his mind. If you don't want that to happen as a head coach, take it away from him in those moments. And it's really as simple as that to me.
Yeah, I think you're riding with Peyton, and I'll give credit to that whole quarterback room. Like, they're all really good people, and I think they've all handled it really well. Peyton, Hank, I think those guys have handled, certainly Hank as well, has handled things really well. Mm-hmm. But it's just. There's just, again, like for the 74th time, there's just a lot. There's other issues. There's pass protection issues. There's drops. There's wrong routes. All that stuff is still happening. We'll see what happens at Missouri. But until you get all of that cleaned up, it's just hard to pin it all on Peyton.
Last thing, and we'll get to predictions. Do you think that Auburn secondary might get exposed this week by Luther Burden and Theo Weiss?
Big concern.
Brady Pinkston.
Some good receivers. It'd be interesting to see how Auburn sort of plays it. Do they try to play back, make sure they don't give up anything big? I would imagine so. It's kind of what's been their MO. Be a good test. Crawford's made some plays at times. Kayan Lee's, he's been decent, but there's been some glaring mistakes there. Jaron's been pretty good. Not a big good test for those guys for sure.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit. I mean, I'm sure they're going to give up some stuff.
Yeah. There's no way they don't.
Got to force more turnovers, man. That's maybe the one thing defensively that you can knock them on is, and maybe that's hard. Maybe they're lacking a little bit, so they're trying to play a type of defense that gives them the best chance, and because of that, they can't be super aggressive, but not a lot of turnovers. Like Auburn doesn't turn the ball over Georgia. Great. Well, they also didn't force one. They didn't force one against Oklahoma either. So 2 games in a row, they haven't forced a turnover. So it's like, you're playing decent. You're giving your team a chance, but man, it'd be nice to give that offense a short field at every now and then, or if you've got them pinned, stop them right there and give them a short field. It'd be nice. A couple of those, the defense could just do a tad bit more, but that's probably my only knock on them a little bit. All right. Predictions. I think I know what everybody's going to say. What do you got, Jeffrey?
Yeah, I'm not. It's a sucker bet. That's the way I look at this, man. It's a sucker bet, man.
Yeah.
The line dropping like that. I like Missouri 30-24. 34-24. Like I said last time, or maybe it was Oklahoma. I want to give Auburn the benefit of the doubt because I absolutely would not be shocked if Auburn won by 10. I really wouldn't. But I am Minnesota. Is that right?
I believe
Missouri.
I believe it's Missouri.
Literally Missouri. You are literally Missouri.
Oh, man, it was just a softball. I swung and missed at that one, didn't I? Damn, that would have been good. I'm going with the Tigers from Missouri. The Missouri boat ride, as Josie Wells would say. They're going to take Auburn on a Missouri boat ride, 30-24.
Okay. I don't think Missouri's going to score 30 on Auburn because it took a lot. I mean, I felt like Georgia really, really had to earn their 30.
Good point. Yeah.
They didn't have any explosive plays for real. I mean, they had a back shoulder to Colby Young, who's no longer with the team, right after that game. That was maybe their biggest play of the day, and it was, 25 yard throw.
That was a big play, yeah.
It was, and it's crazy that that's your biggest play, and you still put up 31, but it was because they were actually found success running the ball against Auburn, which I feel like many people haven't. Georgia stuck with it. They ended up breaking through that barrier a little bit. So I thought they had to really fight for that 31 points. I don't think Missouri's offense is as good as Georgia's. So I think that Missouri 21.
Ooh.
We'll say Auburn 17. I got Auburn losing, but good news. And I know, Jeffrey, you and I, maybe Justin, if you join in with this, we'll get destroyed in the comments, as Alan Head says. But good news. My predictions haven't been great. So
Great news for me.
That'd be way under. 21-17 would be over 10 points under the under. Or the over under. Yeah, like we've been kind of hit or miss. Like there's been some where we've been right on, and there's been some where like Cal, but the Cal was early. Like we were all kind of thinking Auburn was something, and so we were probably all pretty far off on Cal. We kind of thought maybe they'd bounce back into Arkansas, but I think the more we've seen them, we've been a little bit closer. I think like Georgia and Oklahoma. Yeah, I mean, look, I can't take Auburn. I'm with Jeffrey. Could they win? Yep. Would it shock me? No. But it might surprise me a little. And I just, until they show me they can go play clean football, and especially on the road, especially against a team, forget what you think, Missouri's still top 20. It's just hard to pick Auburn. So I would say, 27-21, maybe. Missouri, 27-24. Missouri. I'm kind of with you. I think it could be low-ish scoring. I don't know that anybody's going to go over 30, but Auburn will have their chances. That's what I do feel confident about. We'll be late third quarter, and Auburn will be in this game, and they'll have an opportunity. They'll have an opportunity to win, to be right there. It'll be how do you play the last 20 minutes of the game? We'll tell a lot. They'll be there. I think I'd be shocked if they weren't. I mean, if they're getting blown out at halftime and they just come out and lay an egg after a bye week, I'd be, I'd be real concerned if after a bye week you come out there and lay an egg. That would be a massive red flag.
I mean, if I were making predictions like, does Auburn do that? I would say no way.
Right. Like it's just you can't. I mean, you can't come after a bye week and lay an egg against a team that just got absolutely destroyed by A&M. Well, it was 2 weeks ago. They played UMass, but. So, yeah, I'd go let's go 27-21 Missouri. Maybe 27-23 Missouri. Give Auburn a couple field goals, maybe something like that. But, yeah, Auburn's got to show me. They got to show me they can play clean football, and then we'll reconsider it. But it's a big one. I mean, look, Auburn's got 6 games left. They got to win 4 to go to a bowl. So, in Alabama, I know Alabama's whatever, but that's still going to be awfully hard. So really, you kind of have 5 decent chances, and you better win 4 of them.
Yeah, I was asked, on the board last night, predict the number of wins Auburn will have from here on out. And I said 4. They'll have 4 wins
out of the 6.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy,
I know. put it out there on that one, but
listen, I didn't want to post it on the board, but like, because it's everybody's been probably down enough. La Monroe is analytics wise a top 30 team right now, like top 35 team. I mean, La Monroe's an outside group of 5 type of school. That absolutely, you go out there and don't play well, you that'll be a battle. Like, and I know people don't want to talk about that right now, but I'm just saying,
it won't be a battle, it'll be a loss.
Yeah. Nothing comes easy. All right, so we all got Missouri in a fairly close game. We'll see what happens. 11 a.m. kickoff in Columbia. We'll see what Auburn can put together. It's about the time last year where Auburn had that 3-game winning streak. Granted, it was against worse teams, but we'll see if they can find their footing and try to get a little bit of momentum. That would go a long way with a team that feels like they're close. One win could be important. So, and getting that back on track. So we'll see what happens.
That's what Eugene Asante said. Don't let us get one.
Yeah, if you feel like you're close and you do get one, it could psychologically it could make a big difference.
Huge.
All right, shout out Session Cocktail. Go check them out. Have a drink down there on Magnolia Avenue. Appreciate their sponsorship of the show. And
prospects.com. Use that app. It's a lot easier. Receive guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups. Use promo code Auburn Live.
All right, everybody. We'll see you guys on the corner. Go to auburnlive.com and subscribe, and we'll holler at you next time.